Welcome, everyone, to the Planning Advisory Committee meeting for February 10th, 2026, 6 o'clock. Dan, just so you know, can you hear us? Yeah, okay. I'll call the meeting to order. Any declarations of pecuniary interest? No. The adoption of the agenda?
It is moved by Roxanne Louis and seconded by Kathleen Rochon. Be it resolved that the agenda for the Planning Advisory Committee meeting held on February 10th, 2026 be adopted as presented.
Everybody in favor? Carried. The adoption of the minutes?
It's moved by Kathleen Rochon and seconded by Roxanne Louis. Be it resolved that the minutes of the meeting held on January 13th, 2026 be adopted as presented.
Everybody had a chance to read them? No changes? Everybody in favor for the minutes? Carried. Okay, so we'll move on to 5.1, the zoning bylaw amendment. Ryan Jackson, please.
It is moved by Roxanne Louis and seconded by Kathleen Rochon, whereas a public meeting was held on February 10th, 2026 for the purpose of amending zoning bylaw 2014-45, and whereas written concern or objections have been received to the proposed amendment, resolved that the Planning Advisory Committee for the Municipality of West Nipissing recommends that the Council for West Nipissing Municipality adopts the proposed zoning bylaw to rezone the property at 192 Plant Road, and is more particularly shown on the attached sketch, and that Schedule I-1 of bylaw number 2014-45 shall be amended by changing the zoning designation of the property shown on Schedule A attached here to, which property is more particularly described as part of Lot 12, Concession 2, Part 4, 36R-14275, McPherson Township, Municipality of West Nipissing, from rural to tourist commercial to permit a tourist establishment. Through you, Mr. Chair, this application will be familiar to everyone. It was initially brought before the Planning Advisory Committee in October of last year. And at that point, there were some questions regarding the legal rights related to the right-of-way. A legal opinion was obtained by our lawyers at that time, and it was brought back to the Planning Advisory Committee in December. At that point, the application was not recommended by PAC. And at the following council meeting, there were significant influx of support letters. There are now 35 support letters in your package. And given this increase in support, some additional information that was received, council decided to refer it back to the Planning Advisory Committee so that reconsidered with this new information. And I will leave it there for any questions, and I can pull up the presentation so everyone can see it quickly.
Okay. Any comments or questions from our panel? Go ahead, Mr. Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Like it was mentioned in the opening statement, Mrs. Villa presented to us, my decision was based on not because there was a lot of people in favor of it, but it was based on the new information that we got. This is what I based on my decision. I'm in favor of moving this project forward.
Go ahead.
Okay, so just to refresh my memory from that evening, one of the major concern was a debate on that driveway or access. You correct me if I'm wrong, that's been rectified?
So
Or has that been rectified?
Through you, Mr. Chair, it is a legal right-of-way, and we did receive an opinion from our lawyer that our responsibility is ensuring that the right-of-way is there. And that's about as far as our consideration goes. With that said, I have been advised by the previous property owners of the Servient lands. The property has now changed hands. And you do have a letter in your package on page 57 that is from the new landowner of this land, and she is in support of this application.
Okay, I read that also. Thank you, Samantha. Any other questions?
I'm good.
No? Okay. Dan, you're good? Go ahead.
Yes, Ms. Willock, I imagine that one of the criteria is that that road is put up to a code like it should to accommodate a fire vehicle and a heavy loaded vehicle. So I'm just, can you clarify if that's part of the building application or process, or when should that or will that happen? Thank you.
Yep. So through you, that will be a requirement of their site plan control, and they will be required to upgrade that road before any construction occurs.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any new stuff from the representative, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll be very brief. Just wanted to start by publicly acknowledging and thanking your worship and the council for returning this to the Planning Advisory Committee for reconsideration of some of the issues that were raised at the first meeting. I'd like to introduce Taylor Trache from Tremblay Law, who is counsel for our client. We don't intend, nor do I believe we need to go through the rezoning and the application and the report again. But there's an opportunity just to clarify some of the issues surrounding the right of way and the intended and future use and any improvements that the councillor has asked about. So with that, I'll turn it over to Taylor just to clarify some of that. I did want to also distribute, if necessary, we have the Terranet update confirming the new owners. So I will leave that for distribution later to confirm that it is indeed in new ownership.
Bonsoir, membres de la comité. J'apprécie l'opportunité pour faire des soumissions avec vous. Si c'est correct, je vais faire mes soumissions en anglais. So I act for Ryan Jackson, who is the applicant in the zoning bylaw amendment. I've just recently had the opportunity to review the committee's decision in not recommending zoning bylaw amendment to council, and I understand the circumstances of it being returned to the PAC for reconsideration based on new information. The thrust of the new information, as Ms. Willock has pointed out, is that there are new abutting property owners. And the relevance of that is a few. Firstly, that previously the then current abutting property owners, which were Samuel and John Fox, had included a letter of opposition to the zoning bylaw amendment moving forward. It's not clear to what extent the committee put weight on that opposition, but based on the committee's former decision to not include a even previous letter of support from Mr. Paul Fox, who was the original property owner, I trust that the letter of opposition won't be a determining factor for the committee's decision tonight. And we, as Ms. Willock has pointed out, we now have a letter of support from the now current abutting property owner for not only the zoning bylaw amendment, but also for general usage of the road. I can advise the committee that there is currently a draft easement maintenance agreement for the usage of the road that is in the process of being drafted. I am helping Mr. Jackson with that. And I have full confidence that the current abutting property owner and Ms. Jackson will enter into an agreement that governs the maintenance and usage of that road. Now, one of the, so in short, I believe that to whatever extent the opposition was a factor in the PAC's last decision, it seems to me that that's resolved, and that is, again, part of the new information before you tonight. The second issue relates to the easement, and I just was hoping to give some clarity as to the nature of the easement and how this might be addressed by the municipality and by Mr. Jackson. So I have had the ability to read not only Steve's very thorough planning justification report, but also the planning report of the municipality prepared by Ms. Willock. And in Ms. Willock's report at section 4, or section 6, apologies, there was a reference to the right of way being only 4 meters in width and how it may be insufficient for the traffic that would be required for the proposed development under the new zoning bylaw. I just want to take the opportunity to point out and highlight the distinction between the driveway as a physical feature of the land, right? The driveway that's currently in place for road access, and the right of way as which is an easement, as a legal ability to use the land. The right of way, and if it's of any assistance, I have a little package. I'm not sure. Most of this material has already been circulated to you, but if you don't mind, I'll circulate it just in case it's of any help.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
I'll apologize to Mr. Gagne. I don't have a virtual copy to provide him, but as I've mentioned, this is largely materials that are presently available to the committee. And the first thing I'd like to highlight is the first document you're looking at is the transfer for when Mr. Jackson acquired the property. And you'll notice in the legal description, of course, it is together with right of way, the easement, which is defined in part 4 of a reference plan that's already in front of you, and that's the next document. This is reference plan 36R 14275. You'll note from, it's a little small in my diagram, but I know this material is in front of the committee. The right of way itself is approximately 12 meters in width. So there is 12 meters that Mr. Jackson has the use for egress and ingress to the property. The fact that the current roadway in place right now is only 4 meters is only one piece of the puzzle, and it's important that we distinguish between the roadway and the legal right of access he has within this 12-meter right-of-way. Now, the next concern, I believe, raised by PAC has been whether or not Mr. Jackson and Mr. Fox, who conveyed the property to him, ever contemplated what that roadway would be used for, whether it would be used for residential purposes, strictly or otherwise. And that's one of the features highlighted in Ms. Willick's planning report in this section 6, that the right of, and the words here are that the right of way was constructed for low traffic volumes and weights. Currently, the right of way is approximately 4 meters in width, which is insufficient for two-way traffic. Again, I want to highlight that it's not the right of way that is insufficient, it's the driveway. So the question becomes, in my mind, and I hopefully in the committee's mind, what was the right of way given? What did Mr. Jackson acquire in this right of way when he purchased the property? And on the next document in my package, you'll see this memorandum of understanding. Now, I don't want to stress the elements of support. So this is the memorandum of understanding between Paul Fox, the original owner who created the severance and conveyed the property to Mr. Jackson, and Mr. Jackson and another gentleman. Now, I want to highlight not the support that Mr. Fox gives in this memorandum of understanding, but how he describes the right of way that he gave Mr. Jackson. And that's in the third paragraph that starts by way of background. By way of background, Mr. Fox sold the property of 192 Living Road to Mr. Jackson for use as a rental property and with the understanding that it will be developed as a commercial tourism business. Mr. Fox understands and agrees that the proposed business will see the subject property as ultimately having a maximum capacity of 200 people, et cetera, et cetera. The reason I point this out is that it's clear to me, and I hope that the committee will see this, that what was conveyed to Mr. Jackson in this right of way was contemplated to include commercial purposes. And whether or not subsequent owners have any ability to characterize the use of a right of way in law is irrelevant. Now, it may be an important consideration for the committee if there was a new owner that said, I don't want you to expand the driveway. First of all, that's no longer the case. We have a support letter from Ms. Savard about what will happen with this driveway within the right of way. But this speaks to what was contemplated by Mr. Fox and Mr. Jackson when this right of way was created. And this tells me, this agreement speaks to what happened when Mr. Jackson purchased the property. And I would suggest that what he purchased was a right of way that was intended to be used for commercial purposes. So the issue of egress and ingress to the subject property is more than adequately resolved or addressed with appropriate site plan control. And we know that. And we know that that was always going to be a required step following to develop this property. And that can absolutely be addressed by Mr. Jackson following the zoning bylaw amendment that's being proposed. But what my submission on this is just that the nature of the driveway as it is today within the right of way is not an impediment and should not be a factor in this committee's decision of whether or not to approve or recommend, I should say, the the zoning bylaw amendment to council. It should not be a determining factor to oppose recommending the zoning bylaw amendment to council, because these are issues that can be resolved with site plan control. Now that it is very clear, the right of way always had this contemplated, and the abutting property owner is in support of this. So subject to any questions, that was all I wanted to highlight, and I thank you very much for your time. Yes, Mayor Thornhill.
Thank you. The original property transfer shows in 2019 and the memorandum of understanding was signed in 2024.
Yes.
And that was just to clarify the intent.
So the memorandum in 2024, I would suggest served a few different purposes, and they may not have even turned their minds to what exactly it was doing. I think the thrust of that memorandum of understanding was to be a letter of support, in a sense, or a communicated support from Paul Fox to Mr. Jackson's zoning bylaw amendment, because that's what was in process as of 2024. But the reason I'm pointing it out to you is not for the purposes of the support element, because this committee has decided that, former owners' support is not a relevant determination. The reason I point it out is that it is a later document that evidences what was contemplated at the time the property was sold and the nature of the easement that was in fact created at the time that property was sold.
Okay, and Mr. Fox passed away shortly after this
That's correct.
was submitted. Was this letter of memorandum of understanding submitted previously? Was it included previously as part of the planning package, or is this new information that's being presented today? Because I just don't remember seeing it.
Through you, Mr. Chair, it was submitted in August, I believe, last year is when they made their initial submission. And as Mr. Fox had passed away at that time, it was felt it was inappropriate for us to rely on a letter from a previous landowner when they are no longer the landowner that has kind of a stake in the application.
Is this a legally binding document?
It's an agreement that's been evidenced by signatures. Now, the effect of it, right? What legal effect that agreement has, I would say there is very little legal effect, right? We have two people that signed it, and it's not that it bound anyone to anything, for example, for obligations. It didn't create any obligations between the parties, and I believe it was signed primarily as a letter to support Mr. Jackson's zoning bylaw amendment application. And again, that's my understanding of why it was not included and referenced in the PAC's prior meeting, because it was seen as simply a letter of support. The reason I'm bringing it to you is not for the purposes of support of the application, but again, to highlight the evidence or to evidence what had been contemplated in the creation of that right of way. So for that reason, I believe it serves something valuable, and it is of relevance to the committee in trying to untangle what this right of way really was as distinct from the driveway itself.
Thank you. Go ahead, Dan.
I'll just add a comment to, especially once you present this, and yes, we have seen it, but it actually totally highlights a easement and a right of way that has been surveyed, and it's actually binding as far as nobody can deny access to that piece of property. I will make a comment, and I remember I tried to make a comment a couple meetings ago, and I was at the end meeting, and I believe our microphones had shut off. My comment is to all of us on the planning committee, and also planners, surveyors, and so on, to actually do a severance like this, where you cannot physically put a road through a swamp, which is at the southeast corner. We should not be approving these severances. These severances are now passed. They're actually binding and they're legal. So I cannot, in a right mind, deny access to anybody to develop or enjoy their property and to do what they want to do, as long as they're not hurting anybody else.
Thank you, members.
Thank you.
Merci.
My uptake in this year was also reading what I felt that the last time we had a little struggle with was the new owner willing to now drafting a new resolution to get the driveway up to snuff with the size it needs to have both, like you say, egress and two-way make it a two-way street to the property. So to me, that's 3/4 of the battle. So with that, if there's any more questions, you go ahead.
And, you know, I think my concern is, and this is not necessarily about this application per se, but on a grander kind of planning scale, is when you look at these right of ways and you look at private roads, people enter into, I mean, not necessarily the case with Mr. Fox, but we see, you know, many, and now our official plan will likely change to allow for more private roads. And without people being aware of what they're actually signing on to. So if you were a property owner who did not want 200 people a day driving through your property, you know, it creates, people think they're signing on to one thing, and then if you know what you're saying is that it's a right of way and it's for use, it's for access, and you can't, unless it's specified in the original drafting of the right of way agreement, you can't stop that, because you know, if it were me and all of a sudden there was going to be 100 cars a day traveling through my property. So I think it's more on a policy perspective. You know, how do we make sure when people are buying on private roads or buying properties that they're allowing a right of way through their property, you know, understanding what the risks to that are. You know, I think that is to me a big deal, because if you think it's one person because your neighbor just has a house on a big property and then the use changes, it does have an impact on the property, the servient, am I right? Servient property?
Yes. Worship, if I could just respond to that a little bit, because I concur with Mr. Seguin that if we could go back in time, and I certainly wasn't here in 2019 when this was contemplated and put before the Planning Advisory Committee, and I'm not sure how many of the members were, to be honest, if anyone, or the committee at that time, committee adjustment. Yeah, you are correct. Normally, the right way to do that is to have the frontage required to, instead of a right of way, you know, to have that piece right out to the road. We inherited this situation. I think Mr. Trotti's done an adequate job of explaining that the intent was always this. But as a planning practice, I concur with the worships, your worships. And I agree for the planners and surveyors and everyone else listening. Future-proof these, because decisions are forever.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this road will be, or this access will be 12 meters.
Yes.
Yeah, 20 feet of driving, is plenty from both direction. 8 feet each side for ditch. It's perfect.
Yes, to clarify, it will be brought up to the standard that have to be approved by your Public Works and for emergency access. The parties have 12 meters within which to bring that road up to a standard, and we're confident we'll be able to do that.
And for the comment on soft grounds to operate on, this is like the logging company, if you recall, we wouldn't have been able to do any type of logging in Ontario whatsoever if we didn't have to tackle on soft ground. So there's ways, and it's not all that expensive.
Yeah.
To correct that. So we have to base our decisions on that also, because we do have some project coming forward, and the question is soft ground. There are ways to mitigate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
May I just address one question in regards to the septic servicing? You know, that was another one of my hangups. I like how your number just below. So, and I'll ask this to our planner if you don't mind. So when it comes to, you know, I know we have a report on file here from consultants who have done the work to estimate the servicing, but that will all be verified by the North Bay Mattawa Conservation Authority on the issuing of this permit.
Sure, that is correct, because the allocated septic flow for the first phase of the development is below the 10,000 liters. The permit will be issued by the North Bay Mattawa Conservation Authority. And then for a future phase where they're looking to expand it, it would go through the MECP.
Okay, and that will all be covered under site control, that no more than 30 or whatever the number they come up with, but 30 sites will be permitted unless they move to the MECP, sorry, MECP. Model. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Any questions from the audience? No? I'll bring it to a vote. Anybody in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you all. Members, much appreciated.
It was a snowy day and I had the meeting at 7.
No, we haven't. And you?
Leave the house.
Sorry, we just have the.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thanks.
It's, we have to finish our duties here. No subdivision being violated.
Sorry,
1 minute, please.
there's nothing else on the agenda.
Nothing else, okay, so we'll move to number 9, the adjournment.
It's by Kathleen Rochon, seconded by Roxanne Louis. Be it resolved that the West Nipissing Planning Advisory Committee held on February 10th, 2026, be adjourned to March 10th.
All in favor? Carried.
Yeah.
Thank you. Super. Thank you, everybody.